Hello, and thanks for joining me. I'm Johnny, and I'll be your host. Today, I want to go over this fantastic article published by Polkadot on Medium. It really lays out the current state of the parachains and how they will be used and leased. There have been a lot of questions concerning leases and slot lifetime as they are at the center of its use case. So let's take a look. And the following is a working document that includes a draft plan for a fair parachain distribution at launch, as well as an explanation of how Polkadot will handle additional parachain slot availability in the future. So it's a draft plan, meaning that there will be changes or could be changes made to it. And the first thing they touch on here is the mechanics of the parachain leasing is still being researched, tested, and deployed. So a lot of the mechanics behind the leasing and what controls it haven't been solidified yet. They just have some things they want to go by with it so far. And some of the points they want to go by are there will be a finite number of parachain slots that will start low at Genesis and increase over time. So they're going to start small and then they're going to work their way up. There will be unpermissioned market-based leasing of slots to ensure fairness. So it's going to be open and decentralized auctions, and anyone can participate. And these are going to be candle auctions. And for those of you who don't know what a candle auction is, in a candle auction, the end of the auction is signaled by the expiration of a candle flame, or in other words, the ending time is kind of randomized, which is intended to ensure that no one could know exactly when the auction would end and make a last second bid. It keeps it more fair. Everybody bids what they can, then hopes that they bid the highest or final bid. It instead of everyone just trying to get that last minute bid in the last second, kind of like they do on eBay, this makes sure that people just kind of keep steadily bidding what they can, and when it ends, it ends. All right, and then the next point here that I want to bring up is the parachain slots will have a finite lifetime. Now, they're unsure what the mechanics are behind this. They do not mention what this lifetime length would be, although they do mention a few things that may end up governing it, like it may be built into the protocol's governance mechanism, but and also the leases, the way that they're renewed and whatnot might end up having some kind of relation to the lifetime of the parachain slots, but that's something they have not specified yet. And then here we get into some general stuff on parachains on Polkadot. A blockchain can interact with Polkadot in two main ways: as a native parachain and through a bridge parachain. It is likely that multiple blockchains would be able to share the same bridge parachain and thus the cost of its slot. So as we were talking about earlier, there's going to be a finite number of slots, but they will be able to host multiple blockchains per each slot. So why is there a finite number of parachains? Well, parachains cost resources to ensure they remain secure and live. There are a finite number of parachain slots because there are a finite amount of resources in the Polkadot network. So they can't just infinitely make slots because these slots have to be properly backed by DOT, and there's a limited amount. It is not clear how many parachains the design of Polkadot version 1 will support. The actual amount of chains that can be supported at Genesis will naturally be less, as aspects of the system have yet to be optimized. So they're slowly, as they fix things and make things work better and get everything working more smoothly, that number will increase naturally. And some of their goals, Polkadot will be launched with a handful of parachain slots. Polkadot's parachain slots will increase from around 5. So they're actually giving a number here of how many parachain slots they think there's going to be at Genesis when they release. They think there's going to be about 5, and then it's going to increase to between 50 to 200 slots as various optimizations, there's that optimizations again, in the implementation are being made during the first year or two. So they do plan to grow pretty quickly in the first year or two, but at Genesis they're only going to start out with approximately 5 of the slots. And multiple blockchains again can utilize the same parachain slots. So even though they only have 5 of those slots, they may be able to fit more than 5 blockchains in them. And another point, they want to allow for projects that add the most value to Polkadot to onboard first. This is the point of the candle auction style sale. They keep everybody equally competitive based on what they can actually give, and instead of trying to cut out smaller people by waiting till last second, again, this is all part of that fairness system, and they want, as they say here, it also incorporates that the highest valued individuals or chain would get the slot. All right, now we're going to talk about the Genesis parachains a little more. For Genesis, it is unlikely there will be many parachains. They just touched on that again. The Web3 Foundation will run one or more off-chain auctions in a similar format to the on-chain post-Genesis auctions described, to let teams lease slots in return for placing more dots under deposit than anyone else. Again, they're talking about that. They want the allow for projects that add the most value to Polkadot to onboard first. So they're just kind of reaffirming that there. And here they're talking about the projects that will most likely be the ones that get some of these first 5 Genesis spots. They have the Ethereum Polkadot Bridge, Bitcoin Polkadot Bridge, and a critical infrastructure for projects, for example, like DEXs and stablecoins. So they're going to have 2 bridges for sure with Bitcoin and Ethereum each, having one, and then they're going to build a bridge to a system for DEXs and stable coins. So maybe DAI or some other stable coins like in the Maker network or something might end up part of this. And here we get into a little more of the parachain auctions. The vast majority of chains will be offered in an open auction anyone can participate in. Again, they're saying that anybody can do this, you just got to have DOT to do it. In perpetuity, there will be constant availability of parachain auctions. As demand for slots increase over time, the governance mechanism can introduce new slots. Conversely, should we reach a point where there are too many parachains, the overall number of slots can be reduced. So here they're saying that the government mechanism is going to at some point increase or decrease slots as it sees necessary. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And again, these are going to be unpermissioned auctions, and they're going to be candle style. And bidders can be existing parachains looking to renew or extend their lease, or they can be new actors looking to deploy a parachain. Now, parachain leasers will have to remain the highest bidder to keep a slot, or possibly if the slot is close to end of its finite life, as we mentioned earlier, they can secure a new slot in the same manner. So that is how that mechanism should work, and they can also come from parachains themselves, potentially allowing smart contracts to make bids. These contracts may be written so that they automatically bid on parachain slots as needed to retain or lease a new one. These contracts can be part of the back end of dApps. All right, and the process for obtaining parachain slots. There aren't really sales in the sense that the bidders are buying anything. They are simply placing a sum of DOT tokens up for a fixed term deposit. The highest bidder will deposit the said bid into a holding account which secures the account lease. However, these funds are returned to the bidder at the end of the lease term, kind of like a refundable deposit for a home or business rental. So they're not actually paying it, they're depositing it like a holding fund. All right, and in this section down here, they go into great detail about how the math of the auctions will work out and explain that the auctions will be held in sets of 4 periods per year, so kind of a seasonal thing. I'd suggest really studying this part if you have any plans to ever lease a parachain slot to develop a dApp on, so you are well aware of how it works. And here they have a graphic showing kind of how it works too to go along with their explanation. Here they mention a few ways to obtain DOT to use in an auction, as holding DOT is the only real requirement to participate, and that's what we're talking about here, participating. And then cost of a parachain. Again, here they outline that the bids will be held as a deposit and returned at the end of said lease, but go into greater detail. Another part that would be important to a developer. There is one section to note in it, though, that is really big. Definitely want to note this. For Polkadot Genesis, staking rewards of up to 20% pro rata are expected to be paid through inflating the issuance base by up to 10% per year. This is substantially less than Ethereum's Genesis inflation rate, which was around 30% per year. So what they're saying is staking rewards at a max of 20% paying out would create an overall base inflation of 10% compared to ETH's approximate 30% inflation rate at Genesis, making a solid point about the Polkadot chain actually having a lower year-over-year inflation than Ethereum did in the beginning. This has been a concern with some investors as they look at the staking rewards being high. Issued rewards also tend to slope off in blockchain, so proportionally it will have a much lower inflation rate in the long term than the comparison Ethereum. That's super exciting. I've definitely run across a lot of people that were concerned about the high payout rate on the staking, and right here they explain that the way the math works out, they actually have a much lower overall inflation rate than Ethereum started with. And again, and like I said, those inflation rates from staking tend to slope off over time. Alrighty. And then another quick last note here down in the governance section is Polkadot is undeniably an experiment in numerous bleeding edge technologies, and though we hope to mitigate risk through audits, modeling, and testing, we can never know for sure what will happen. Hard forking inevitably remains on the table as a last resort should the experiment go awry. Now, here they are affirming that it is unlikely to see a fork, as it is a worst case scenario if a major issue arises that requires a change of the base protocol. So, not something they're going to turn to lightly at all. But they are just saying here that it is a very distant possibility if something really bad happened to the chain. And thanks for tuning in, everyone, and going through this journey of learning about the Polkadot blockchain with me and about parachains. I hope this has shined some light on the use case of parachains in the Polkadot ecosystem. I will have links to this article in the description below as well, so you can go view it on Medium, and any little bits you want to read into some more, you can take a look at. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and have a great day.